My name is Linwood. I work with my spirit guide, Walter. If you like mysterious things, the unknown, if you want to learn the truth, like and subscribe, and I hope you enjoy. Too many stories have circulated over the years. I've seen people tell stories of reptilians on TV shows about mysterious unknowns. There are ancient carvings of reptilian-like things from all over the world. So why were they carving such things? Did they see them? Did they worship them? Were they real? Draco reptilians are an alien race of reptile being. VRIL is what some call a reptile race. David Icke talks about a godly shape-shifting reptilian race that rules the world. There are signs and talks everywhere, but coming up with actual facts is very difficult. I did a video on a reptilian I experienced when I was young. That video is called The Watchers. Phil Schneider said that there are 177 DUMs, deep underground bases, complete with magneto-levitation trains on a single rail. Phil had 17 years experience in black military projects, starting off as a geologist. He spoke about crystalline, which came from the large grays and has grown in the confines of space. He talks about the boring machines used to make the tunnels and how these boring machines actually turn the rock to dust and then melt it, so there's no use for concrete. He also talks about the tall grays that have been trenched in New Mexico for about 400 or 500 years. And in late August 1979, there'd been a war going on right under our feet, and how there's 17 different species. The military doesn't tell us anything, and we're not truly free without truth. The military were testing nuclear bombs on some islands off the Pacific Ocean, and there was a photograph that Phil shows. There's a UFO off the wingtip off the military drone. And the military knew at that moment that aliens exist, and that's 1946. One thing that really piqued my interest is Phil talking about the alien agenda. He says the alien agenda in the New World Order is one and the same. They plan to kill off 2/3 of the planet's population, use the rest as slaves, and they want to do that by the year 2029. I think they stepped that up. But he also talks about adrenochrome and how the aliens don't eat the flesh and bone. They just feed off the blood and the adrenaline therein. So these are things that are going on. We just learned in the last 4 or 5 years. Some people still don't even know that the elites have been doing. So that really piqued my interest. But there are also, you know, that conflicts with the kind and loving aliens that I know exist. Doesn't mean the ones he talks about don't exist, but the ones that I've had interaction with, I'm not like that at all. They're here to help. Another thing Phil Schneider talks about was in Russia. Russia has been shooting down 50 UFOs a month, and they made a pile of them in Mongolia. I tried to find that on Google Earth, and I couldn't find anything. But I'm sure they would have blurred the photo anyway, in that frame of the world.
Well, to our total surprise, first of all, the government knew all about it. They didn't tell anybody. When I saw Green Beret and Black Beret people encamped inside of our geologist camp, I knew something was up. The gig was up. First of all, I knew all about the alien agenda. I'll explain that in a few minutes. The large alien grays had been encamped there for, as best as believed possible, about 400 or 500 years. Had been one of their internal bases. And we'd drilled holes right on top of it. All the stinking air, all the black sooty air came right out as soon as the first hole was sunk, and all this soot came up, and well, that's when all the hell broke loose, really. All started. Anyway, after we drilled all 4 holes, it took about 2 days to drill all 4 of them. And when you build a underground base, you drill 4 basic holes, and then you build called stopes or cross-member holes across, and then you use blasting equipment, special blasting equipment by the analyzation of the rock formation, and you literally blast out or tunnel out or deflagrate or melt rock out to build the large rooms that are required for this underground base. Well, in this process, I was lowered down the basket of one of these holes, and about from me to this elderly woman here in the front was sitting a 7-foot-tall alien gray. The stench was worse than the worst garbage can you can imagine. The person was or the entity was absolutely horrible. I didn't waste any time. I reached for my pistol. At that time, as an engineer, I didn't have time to carry all the folderol of one of these big submachine guns that all the sea spray and the yellow fruit and all the outer perimeter and inner perimeter security people carried. I carried a little Walther PPK pistol with a 9-shot clip. This was in late August of 1979. Now, you got a regular suit of clothes, you got a regular clothes on, plus you're in almost like a spacesuit environment, and you're reaching for a gun. It's not the easiest thing to do, and then to pop a clip in it and start shooting. And I killed 2 of them. Yes, they're mortal, and they do die. However, in the process, one of them did this. All I remember is that he just kind of waved his hand in front of his chest, and the next thing I know, this blue beam hit me and just literally opened me up like a fish, and burnt my fingers right off of me. And it was some form of electrical force, because the kind of like being hit by a lightning bolt burned all my toenails off of me. Completely crispy crittered my left foot, burnt the shoe right off of me. All I remember is the smoking remains, and I'm still conscious, but in and out of, I didn't remember much. And there was a Green Beret that was right behind me that risked his life. In fact, he died. But he risked his life. He shoved me back in the basket and hit the button and took me up. And I wouldn't be alive talking to you today if it wasn't for him. I'm forever indebted. He lost his life. 66.
Now, I've recently heard of Donald Marshall. I feel he's the Phil Schneider of this day and age. He's known as the Music Man. His talks are fascinating but horrifying too. He tries to bring what he knows to be true to the masses, risking his life to do so. He was sold by his parents to the satanic cabal as a small child. He would sing at 5 years old so they would not harm him. He spent many years in the underground tunnels singing and making up songs for the pedos and Satanists. Queen Elizabeth started calling him the Music Man, and many of his songs wound up huge hits, sung by many popular artists that you love so much. And so did I, because I had no idea. But what's worse about this whole thing is he speaks of clones and the reptilian aliens that live in these underground bunkers. He calls the reptilians the VRIL. The pedos steal and feed the children to the reptilians, which also sparks my interest because that's what I found recently with the elites. I highly suggest you look him up. David Icke, Donald Marshall, Phil Schneider, they all talk about these things. And this video is set apart from most of the videos I do, because this is not what I know. This is what I know that the elites do. Most of the aliens that I know are very kind and loving. They're only here to help us and guide us through this tough 3D life. But who's to say there aren't evil reptilians underground? I have I have not heard very many nice stories about reptilians, that's for sure.
I may scare y'all, but this is the real reason why I don't show my face. Alright, look. See? See, I got real Illuminati bloodline. Turn the camera around, hold up. Now watch this. See that? See, I gotta keep my identity hidden, man. Fuck you think they gonna do if they see me with this shit? They might kill my ass.